What's up, people? Back with another reaction, back with some more Duran Duran. We're going back to their 1993 self-titled album, the second of their self-titled albums, colloquially known as the Wedding Album. I've enjoyed this to such a great degree, in part because it's an album that I did remember in a very small and limited respect back in the early 90s. And it was a time where I was, it came out in 93. I don't know if I maybe heard it till like 94 or something, but ultimately, by the time I started hearing Come Undone and Ordinary World on the radio, I was not only very impressed by those songs, but it sort of, rekindled memories of me listening to them about a decade earlier when I was like 3, 4, 5 years old. I was like, oh my gosh, like they're still around and this is awesome, although it sounds a little different than I remember. Now, little did I know at the time that they were already exploring a number of different sonic avenues even before the time they got to the Wedding Album, including in the side projects. I'm now going through Arcadia, will eventually go through Power Station as well. So yeah, it's just so interesting to me, again, just like as I start to stitch together a timeline of their sound and the different explorations of styles that they've done, and sort of, different people coming into the group, leaving the group, coming back, leaving, and so on. It's just interesting to me when I now think about this album. There's so much more context that I am beginning to appreciate than just like, oh, this is their comeback album with a couple big hits and so on. And yeah, I've really enjoyed not only Come Undone and Ordinary World, the two tunes I did know and have done reactions to like since coming back to this album, but a number of the other tunes have really hit me well. Again, I keep mentioning Too Much Information and Love Voodoo, None of the Above, their cover of Femme Fatale. I enjoyed Shelter the last time out. I very much enjoyed Sin of the City. That one was fantastic, although I didn't realize like it was about the fire at that club and sort of an immense and tragic loss of life. It sort of like in the moment it struck me in a more general, like, sort of the ills of urban society and, sort of the worst things that humans do in large aggregations and so on. But yeah, like, it is important to have the context of something like that where it is, drawing from a very specific inspiration or source. But like I said, I did react to that tune already, so we're on the penultimate tune, and that is the final tune for me as we go through this album. And yeah, it is To Whom It May Concern, which, that phrase is used when you are sending a message or issuing a statement, not to anyone specifically or necessarily, but to anyone who should inquire or to anyone who should take an interest in the state of affairs about which you are writing or stating. So yeah, it's in one respect a bit limited in terms of what I might take away from it, but that very notion suggests that it could be a statement not directed at a particular person so much as, humanity or anyone who wishes to walk down a particular road, be it conceptual or occupational or cultural or so on. So again, there's a bit of opacity to it, but I do like the idea of using a phrase that in of itself includes the form of how it's being directed. So let's get to it. This is To Whom It May Concern by Duran Duran on their 1993 self-titled album. Waiting to see what we do with this phone call before I comment on the opening songs. I like picking up the hook right as the first proper measure rolls in. Like that sort of golden buzz, like about the track. Singing very like viscerally, like gutturally, and then right as I say that, you start elevating. It's kind of like jagged, like arrangement, like everything's like angular. Faint, like whistling. Not catching enough to like make a strong statement, but there's some funny lines. It's like something about cut you, but you gotta pay me by the hour. Maybe like a daydream, a reverie. And then back in with the sort of wicked angular feel. Which is good contrast, right? Like, sometimes you can draw out the characteristics of something by placing it next to something that is very different. Figure out these backing vocals, like if it's just all the other guys, or if like. But then right as I was gonna say that, it goes up into one of these awesome stripped down instrumental interludes that I know I've talked about it a few times, but I think they just do so well, no matter what particular idiom or song it is. The guitar is awesome. It's like delicate. Very carefully placed. Obviously, that does go into the last track, which, once again, I have already reacted to. So, yeah, in recent times, I've been trying to go through albums chronologically. When I first started doing this, not just with Duran, but with other groups, it was just like, well, you know, what are the tunes I remember, and I'll react to those, and also related to which ones I actually have in terms of physical media. I'm so happy I had that Rio record. You know, feels like so much has changed in like 4 or 5 weeks. But yeah, I'm really happy I had that record, because it was like, oh man, you know, I've been doing 80s reactions, lots of Depeche Mode by that point. I think I had done like one Erasure and I think a Soft Cell, and you know, I had started trying to go through some 80s groups that I remember listening to, and then when I went through my 80s vinyl, I was like, oh right, this album, like absolutely, you know, Hungry Like the Wolf and the song Rio itself and so on. But yeah, little did I know I was holding like Sonic Gold, and all the sort of developments that have come after have been such a great like boon to me in terms of my appreciation for their music and just music more broadly. It's interesting, you know, not only have Duran Duran fans brought their knowledge about the band and their opinions about the different songs and albums and so on, but a number of you, like Izzy especially, but a few others have also, you know, suggested different groups, you know, and especially if it's like a song related to NXS, you know, it's like, oh, you should check out NXS, or if there's another song where, you know, they work with this artist and like, oh, you know, they have their own songs and, you know, they're worth checking out. So I'm learning about other music through Duran's music, which is fantastic, and, you know, through the other videos I'm doing as well. And shout out to the Duran fans out there who have checked out some of the other reaction videos, even some of my like ambient mixes and so on. I really do appreciate you all. And anyone who sort of explores different avenues of music and checks out things like, you know, outside their familiarity, or they're beyond their comfort zone, I really respect and appreciate that. So big ups to all of you. Thank you for listening and watching. I'll see you next time.